are responsible for unprecedented rates of environmental change worldwide. And if this trend continues, we're on course to see 75% of our planet's species go extinct in just a few centuries. My research focuses on just one of millions of species that are faced with human-induced rapid environmental change. In particular, it focuses on the wood stork, a species that has seen its populations decimated from habitat loss due to human development. As you can see in the photo behind me, South Florida and the Everglades looks drastically different from what it looked like just 100 years ago. Today, it's roughly half its original size, and it's one of the most managed and regulated watersheds in the entire world. With this alteration, we've seen the creation of structures like canals and drainage ponds across South Florida, much like the ones in your own backyard, and are even on this very campus. And what's even more remarkable is that the wood stork, a species that was on the brink of extinction, is often seen feeding in these areas along major roadways like the Florida Turnpike. What this suggests, and what I hope to address with my research, is that the wood stork, a species that's well documented as being sensitive to human disturbance, has found a way to cope with the changes of human development like urbanization successfully. So in order for us to understand how they're adapting to this change, we looked at how their diet has changed over time with human development. We compared our study to a study conducted in the 1970s, a time when coastal wood stork colonies were just beginning to collapse, and those structures like drainage ponds and canals were not well established in the landscape. So first, we needed to have an idea of what wood storks are actually eating today. So we collected bolus samples, which is really just a scientific way of saying we collected stork vomit. And what we see when we compared our study to the study done in the 1970s is that there's been a dietary shift. There's been a shift to include not only larger fish, but also exotic non-native species. So naturally, we wanted to know where they could be finding these fish. So for over 2 years, we sampled fish in both the natural system and the human influence systems. And what we find is that those larger non-native species are more characteristic of drainage ponds and canals than they are to the natural Everglades, suggesting that they're using these areas for food. What all this together tells us is that the wood stork, a species that is well documented as being sensitive to human disturbance, has found a way to cope with these changes and is even transitioning from the natural landscape to a more human influence landscape. I began my talk with the statistic that we're on course to see 75% of our planet's species go extinct in just a few centuries. But it's not all doom and gloom. I've given you the example of a species, the wood stork, that was on the brink of extinction, but has found a way to cope with these changes. And the information from our study can be used to assist the millions of other species faced with human-induced rapid environmental change.